Good evening, and thank you for joining us at 6 o'clock with SOC. My name is Amy Orta, and I'm the Associate Executive Director at the Southside Organizing Center. For those of you that are Spanish speaking, I'm going to go ahead real quickly and provide some information. Buenas noches, mi nombre es Amy Orta, soy la asistente, directora ejecutiva. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Este segmento se va a hacer en inglés, pero por favor, la traducción en español está disponible y si miran a la pantalla, ahí está el número de teléfono con el código que necesita para accesar la información en español. So now today is November 11th, 2021. And before we begin this segment, first of all, I'd like to take some time real briefly to thank all of our veterans and thank them for their service and sacrifices. Tonight, I will be joined with one of our organizers, Stacy. Stacy will be sharing the moderation for this segment. So, Stacy, if you can please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, yes, my name is Stacy Carlos, and I am a new organizer with Southside Organizing Center. My area is the west side of the area, pretty much like from 16th Street over to Miller Parkway, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Stacy. And we're going to get started. We have actually two guests tonight that's joining us with important information and resources to share. And so for the first guest that we have is Samantha Longshore, and she is the Resource Recovery Program Manager. So let's welcome Samantha. Hi, Samantha. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So Samantha, can we get started by, if you can just please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what your role is in the city of Milwaukee?
Sure, absolutely. So I am the Resource Recovery Program Manager. I work in the Department of Public Works and in the Sanitation Department. So we'll talk a little bit about all of the different services that sanitation offers.
Great. So it's a perfect segue because my next question to you was, can you tell us a little bit about, again, what you do in Department of Public Works? And what takes us to this conversation is, I know there's the recycling and leaf collection. So if you want to just go right into that, that would be great.
Absolutely. I'll share this presentation. Sorry, this worked great during our prep.
That's okay. That's technology. So no worries.
I'm going to open this back up and see if it'll recognize the window. All right. And while that opens up, so again, a little bit more about our group and my role specifically. So as Resource Recovery Program Manager, we have a lot of different programs where we are trying to divert from landfill. And that can be the recycling program, that will be in any of our work where we are composting, such as yard waste and leaves. And I also do a bit of work on the education front. So we have a Milwaukee Recycles website and social media on Facebook and also Twitter. So you can join us there for not only updates about some of our programs, but also just tips for making sure that you kind of get the best out of our services. And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. So a bit about the department as a whole. Again, sanitation provides garbage and recycling collection for all of the 1 to 4 unit households in the city of Milwaukee. And that's about 181,000 residences. And we operate a materials recovery facility, or a MRF. And so this picture that you're seeing here is the inside of the recycling facility. If any of you have driven past the Menominee Valley on 894, you'll see kind of a big steel structure that says Milwaukee Recycles. That is our recycling facility. So if you live in a 1 to 4 unit household, that's where your recyclables go. If you don't live in a 1 to 4 household, likely your complex will have private service. So maybe from a Waste Management or a John's, a GFL. The recycling facility is jointly owned through an intergovernmental agreement that we have with Waukesha County, and we have a third-party operator. So Republic operates that facility and we own it. And this has been running since 2015 to accept all of your recyclables. We also operate 2 drop-off centers, and we'll go into some more details on that. And we're also responsible for a lot of different services, including fall leaf collection, which we'll talk about a little bit, brush collection, street and alley cleaning, and also snow and ice control. So right now is a really interesting time, because as we kind of move from, summer schedules into winter, we're both finishing up brush collection, leaf collection, recycling and garbage as usual, and also we're prepping for possibly some snow tomorrow. So there are a lot of different things that hit around this time. So a bit about our garbage and recycling winter collection. So we have what we call a summer collection schedule and a winter collection schedule. And the winter collection begins on November 29th. So just a heads up for everybody that there are sometimes different instructions depending on your schedule type when we move into the winter. So a really great website is milwaukee.gov/collection day. So this is where you can find your schedule and also instructions for your winter collection.
So Samantha, I remember, this is how old I am, but I remember in the past there used to be a calendar, an actual hard copy printed calendar that was left kind of in the receptacle. So that is no longer, it's pretty much online.
It is. It's primarily online. Again, we kind of wanted to walk the walk a little bit and try to limit our paper use. But if you really like the paper and you can download the paper schedule online, but if you want us to send you one, we will absolutely do that as well. So I'll show a few resources at the end. You can give us a call, send us an email, to request that schedule, and we can send it for you as well. So we have both, but we're just trying to limit.
And I know we're trying to get away from the paper. I'm just trying to kind of, just to make sure that there are some individuals that are not comfortable with online and all of that. They're not. So I just want to make sure that there's still accessibility.
Absolutely. Yep. So they can make that request for us. Typically, we people know to put in that request at the schedule change. So we have a few that we send out at each change. So certainly available if anyone would like us to send that to them directly.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So for garbage carts, this is a set out year round for all households. So that means if you have alley or curb collection, that you are bringing your cart for collection on your specific day. If anyone needs assistance with that cart, there's also a hardship request that can be made. And I'll show the sanitation website. But so typically you're setting out on your day. However, in the summer, recycling is set out for everybody. So you find your day and you put your cart to the curb or to the alley. But in the winter, there are 2 different schedules. So some households will have a set out year round, which means you have a day and you place your cart out. The majority of households, however, will leave their carts in their collection location. So somewhere near your home, just make sure it's accessible, kind of clear of snow, of ice, and visible from the alley or from the curb, and we will come and collect that for you. And that's because the same drivers that are on recycling and garbage, the same trucks are actually converted and used for plowing. So sometimes in the winter when we do have those snow events, it takes a little bit longer to get through recycling. So you'll know what your set out is. Again, if you look at your schedule, it'll tell you, if you have scheduled dates through the winter, so December through March. And if you don't, you can go to collection day to kind of see when roughly we're going to be there, but you can leave it and we provide that up the drive service for those residents.
Nice. Thank you for that.
Sure. So the drop-off centers are available again to any City of Milwaukee residents and property owners. We just ask that you have a current state or city issued photo ID. And then also for any property owners, there's a form that you can fill out as well. We have one on the south side on Lincoln Avenue and one on the north side at Industrial Road. And again, here we shortly we'll be moving over to winter hours. So on November 28th, we'll be switching to open Tuesday through Saturday. So the only difference is that in the summer, we are also open on Sundays. So a few more Sundays available for you. And also to the right, you'll see that we have a drop-off center guide. So most items that fit inside your passenger car, any of your recyclables, that's also something that maybe isn't as well known. If the holidays are coming up, if you have a lot of overflow that doesn't fit in your cart, you're more than welcome to bring, a carload of this mixed recyclables for free. We have lines of carts at both of the drop-off centers, so you can just bring, normal recyclables too, or cardboard boxes if you're kind of inundated with that. But then above that, go ahead.
Samantha, can I just ask you, we're still on the first slide, and I think you might be on the fourth. Is there a way that we can get to the slide where you're sharing this information?
Let me stop sharing and try to bring that back up. Okay, do you see drop-off centers?
I did, and then it was there briefly for a second, and now it's gone. There it is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, great. I'll try to mention when I change. Let me know if for some reason it's
okay.
lagging. So then after that, there is a guide for different materials. Most items that you bring in, it's based on a volume, how much there will be a charge for. For brush, you can bring up to 6 cubic yards for free. So if you're doing a big yard cleanup, we definitely recommend you bring that to the drop-off centers where it'll be composted. And then the only other special item are televisions. Those you can bring in 3 at a time, and they're $5 each, which is if you try to recycle your electronics through any other retailers, they can be $20, $25 each. So we take those materials and recycle those through the state program with a recycler that's actually just up near the La Crosse area. Okay, so we're going to move over to brush collection. Can everyone see this?
It's still on the drop-off center slide.
Okay.
There.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so brush collection. This is another service that we offer April 1st through November 30th. So again, this season is wrapping up soon. And this is a curbside service for, again, all the 1 to 4 unit households that we service, and it is by request. So we will take any woody stalks or branches that are up to 6 inches in diameter. So if you have something like logs, that wouldn't be a material that we would take through the brush collection. We ask that you cut it to 4 foot in length or less, and it's up to 2 cubic yards in size. So think about the size of a couch. And if you keep it to that size, there's no charge for it. And again, also if you bring that to the drop-off center, again, reminder, anything less than 6 cubic yards is free, and anything above that, there would be a charge for those materials. So you can request a brush pickup at milwaukee.gov/click-for-action. That's actually a great website. I'll show it again later as well for any service requests or any questions. And then you can always call our city line at 414-286-CITY.
Now, I was just thinking about this. So are the services in English and Spanish? Like if I was to call a number, would I be able to get, so there are Spanish speaking?
Yeah, if you call the number, yeah, you'll definitely be able to speak to one of our agents who is Spanish speaking.
Thank you. Great.
Absolutely. And we have made, there aren't many listed here, but on our website as well, or if you do call the city number, we have tried to make a point, especially this year, of creating more educational materials around our services, but then also making sure that they are bilingual as well. So we do have a lot of helpful resources, and maybe that's something I could send to you after for sharing or for posting.
That would be great. That would be great information. Is there anything, you shared a lot of dates? Is there anything that that's coming up in the near future that we should be, oh, I see the leaves. I was just going to say that we need to get done in November before this wonderful white snow hits us.
Yes, absolutely. And this is kind of the last service. So I know we're trying to keep 10 minutes here, but leaf collection. Yeah. So we're kind of hot and heavy in this right now. And everyone who's listening, you're kind of getting the first scoop. There will be a notification and some messaging going out that we are going to extend the deadline for rake out to the 21st. Again, just because, as I think many of you are seeing, we have kind of a late leaf drop this year. So we know that everyone's going to need some more time to rake out. And so what we do for this, it's on a rolling collection. So your rake out deadline would be the 21st. And then there, may be several days after that before we come through and pick up those leaves, because we're kind of working through the entire city and making several sweeps over this time period. So again, just rake out by the 21st, and then we'll stop by to pick those up. And again, we do this both because composting conserves our natural resources, it helps save money, but it also protects water quality. So when those leaves go into sewer drains, they actually, when they get into our waterways, create a lot of phosphorus. So it can be detrimental for our water quality as well. So some tips on how to rake out your leaves. We ask that you put them loose into the street, so don't bag them, and keep about a 1 foot gap between the leaves and the curb. So you'll see this here. And also keep your brush piles separate. So this is a good example of if you have a brush request you've made, keep that up on the curb, but put your leaves into the street. And we ask that you keep those away from storm drains, keep them away from sewer grates. And you can also add any garden trimmings or weeds right on top of the pile. But we just ask that you don't put any grass clippings, pumpkins, if you still have some on your stoops, litter or bagged materials. So just those loose leaves in the street.
Well, it's a lot of great information. And I was just going to say, how do we contact you? But there's the number and there's the link. So that if there's any questions, that's the go-to. And so, Samantha, thank you for sharing this information, which is so applicable right now because we're all raking and getting ready. Yeah, thank you for this information.
Absolutely. And just quickly, because I didn't mention it, the Milwaukee.gov/e-notify. That is, you can sign up for collection reminders so that you can get a text or the day before for collections or snow updates for parking, that sort of thing. So there are a lot of different updates that you can get there via email and via text. So just another really good resource.
Great. And like you said, you mentioned we'll be getting some of that. So we will be more than happy to also include that and kind of share with the neighborhood that these are important dates to keep in mind.
Excellent. That'd be great.
So thank you so much. So now we have our second guest. Our second guest is Ben. And he is the Public Involvement Outreach Manager. And the topic for this session is Regional Food Supply Plan. Hi, Ben. Welcome.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me. My name is Ben McKay, and actually Nikki Payne is our Public Outreach Manager, and I'm sure you've all met her before.
Yes.
I'm the Deputy Director for Sewer Pack.
Thank you for clarifying that. And since you started your introduction, can you please tell us about your role?
Yeah, sure. My role as deputy director, my background is really in land use planning. So I've done land use planning at the regional level, where we look at all 7 counties in southeastern Wisconsin, which include Ozaukee, Washington, Milwaukee, Waukesha, Racine, Kenosha, and Walworth counties. And I also help to kind of oversee the commission staff. So I'm involved with a lot of the different areas that we work in, whether it's land use, other things such as transportation planning, park planning, natural resource planning.
So, can you explain to us what is the regional food supply plan?
Yeah, so the Regional Food System Plan is a plan that we started developing last year, actually. And this actually stems from a recommendation that comes from another advisory long-range land use and transportation plan that we did for the 7-county region called Vision 2050. So Vision 2050 sort of recognized that the region has, a large population centers and also lots of productive agricultural land, and as well there can be things like food access issues. So we undertook this regional food system plan to see if we can sort of tie some of the agricultural resources together with some of our population centers to help to address food access issues in the region.
And so, for the community that's listening in and viewing this, what's the takeaway? What would you like to share with our audience?
I do have a PowerPoint if you'd like me to go through that.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, it doesn't look like it's going to allow me to access the window I want to get to. So I can maybe just sort of go through the presentation and describe some of the main takeaways from the Regional Food System Plan.
Okay.
Okay. Well, as I had,
technology is not our friend.
Not working for me this evening, but that's okay. I think we can just sort of talk through it pretty quickly. I think we have a few minutes, correct?
Yes.
So as I had talked about, Sewer PAC is a regional advisory land use and transportation system planning agency. And southeastern Wisconsin is in a pretty strong position to do a regional food system plan. We do have over 2 million people in the region and 1.3 million jobs. We have a strong agricultural industry with over 3,500 farms, almost 740,000 acres of farmland, and we produce over $600 million of agricultural products in the region annually. And we also have a strong food and beverage manufacturing industry in southeastern Wisconsin with over 300 firms and over 17,000 people employed in those firms. So I think to kind of better describe what this plan is about, I think it would be good to kind of define what a food system is. So when we're talking about a food system, we're actually talking about several different steps that food takes from being grown all the way to when it's consumed. So one of the first steps, or the first step really, is termed production, but that's really the step where food is farmed. So that's farming. And unfortunately, we do have a lead planner for this, or actually a planning fellow for this project who couldn't be with us this evening.
Okay.
But she always uses the example of a tomato and how that goes through the food system. So I'm going to try to use her example of the tomato. So the tomato, is grown on a farm, and then it goes into what's called the processing and manufacturing part of the food system, where it's packaged and maybe turned into something more refined, like tomato sauce. So it goes from a tomato to being a tomato sauce, and then it's distributed, so really transported to what's called point of sale. And that could be anything from a grocery store to a restaurant or wherever somebody might buy our tomato sauce. Then it's, of course, consumed by our residents in the region. And kind of going back to Samantha's presentation a little bit, the last part of the food system is food waste. So whether it's from our homes or businesses or while it's actually being manufactured, kind of the end of the cycle is the food waste cycle. So in this plan, we sort of want to provide information and maybe recommendations about how to sort of improve all these areas of our regional food system. We do know that there is a need for doing this plan on a regional basis. We actually have had some communities, including the city of Milwaukee, develop reports such as a fresh food access report, where they highlighted some of the issues and maybe solutions to food access, and approached us and said, we think this really is because of the strong urban population centers, large population centers of southeastern Wisconsin, and the farmland in southeastern Wisconsin is really more of a regional issue than just a city issue. So we also know that there certainly is a need to make healthy foods accessible to all areas of the region. If I had my PowerPoint, I would actually show you a map. And on that map shows where the U.S. Department of Agriculture has identified food deserts and also low income and access areas of the region. And they often overlap with communities of color in our region. So there's certainly a need to improve food access in southeastern Wisconsin. And then I just like to share a couple of the main objectives of the plan. So these really probably are the main takeaways, what we're identifying as what we want to achieve with this plan. First, and probably most important, is we have a lot of stakeholders in the food system that are doing great work, whether it's in things like urban agriculture or other food access programs. And we want to better connect those stakeholders in a region to improve our food system. Also, of course, improving accessibility. That is, I think, the main purpose of developing this plan. There are longstanding economic and health disparities in the region, as well as a need to support locally owned and sustainable farming operations in our region. And we also want to take a look at, since we are a regional agency and we do a lot of work in the natural resources realm, particularly around water issues, kind of what are some of the impacts of the different types of agricultural operations, farming operations on the region's natural resources. So we want to cover that aspect of the food system as well. So again, if you can see my slide, I have a report outline that I would usually share that talks about some of the contents of the report, but the contents are essentially just what I talked about. So I think we can sort of skip over that. But eventually we want to provide information about all those different aspects that I had talked about and develop plan recommendations to address some of the issues that we might see in the region.
And so it sounds like, I believe when you started, this plan has a futuristic date for its totality or completion. Where is the plan in this phase? Is it in its initial? Are we in the implementation somewhat? What phase are we in at this point?
Well, that is a great and timely question, because I would have come to my slide that says, okay, where are we in the planning process? Okay. Well, your perfect question. So we are kind of in the beginning of the planning process. We're definitely not near the implementation phase yet. And implementation of these regional plans certainly happens over time, and they are advisory plans. So there's any number of maybe government agencies, private stakeholders, nonprofit organizations that might be identified to implement some of the plan recommendations once they're actually developed. But we're, again, very much in the beginning of the planning process, and the plan recommendations have yet to be developed. Right now where we are is we're actually sort of extending our first round of public outreach. We had a series of virtual, unfortunately, public outreach events, and we couldn't do them in person, where we really wanted to get an idea, really share what we were thinking about putting in this plan and get an idea. Are we talking about the correct things? What are some of the things that we might be missing? In addition, we wanted to get an idea of, what are some of the concerns around food in the region from the public? And in addition, what are some of the assets that the region has around food? So we got a lot of great feedback from that. And we actually still have a survey on our website, which I cannot share on the screen, but I will tell you what the address is here in just a minute, that sort of asks some of the same questions that we asked during those virtual meetings. So that online survey will still be up on our website for a couple of weeks if any of your audience would like to fill out that online survey. And I believe SOC was also provided with some paper copies to distribute of that survey. So some of your viewers may have already filled that survey out, and we have those results already. So that's where we are in the planning process, kind of in the beginning, and we're kind of collecting data around all those different topics that I just discussed.
Great. You beat me. I was just going to ask you in terms of, input. And so you mentioned the survey, and that's great, because we definitely want to, the people that are most affected, obviously, will have a voice and kind of share, their challenges. So that's great. And I'm sure we'll have your information and your contact information for those that are viewing this segment that maybe have questions that, as follow-up questions for you. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we end this portion of it?
Yeah, I guess I would just add that we're going to, kind of be collecting this data and doing some writing about the data and hopefully presenting that probably in the spring of next year to kind of get some initial input on what those plan recommendations should be. So we want to get public input on what the actual recommendations of the plan should be as well. That'll happen next spring, and then we would follow up after we have a full draft of the plan, probably late summer of 2022, to get comment on that too and make sure that that we didn't miss important things and we've addressed what's needed. And just to give you the kind of verbally simplified version of our website address, that is www.sewrpc.org. And there's a specific regional food system plan webpage there that you can find the survey on. And my name is Ben McKay, and my phone number and email address and contact information is on the website as well.
Well, thank you so much, Ben, for sharing this information. And we will definitely share this again, with our audience. So thank you so much for sharing this space with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So now we are going to move on to share some of the criticals. We have one critical, which actually will be a reminder of what we shared last week, and that is that the Fire and Police Commission appointed Jeffrey Norman as the permanent chief of police. And this information was actually shared last week on our Facebook page as soon as we were advised of it. So again, this is the only critical we have for this segment for this evening, and it was just a reminder. So at this point in time, I am going to have Stacy back to co-moderate. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm back. We will now go into our COVID segment. We will have a link of information of where to get vaccinated, and then we will continue with our COVID video.
Hello, my name is Jinx, and I'm a COVID coordinator at SOC, bringing you good news on an update on the COVID-19 vaccine eligibility. As of this week, eligibility for who can receive the COVID-19 vaccine has extended to include kids ages 5 and older now. Until recently, there has only been approval and capacity to vaccinate people ages 12 and above, but now, with ages 5 and above being the new eligibility age standard, more can be done to keep our communities and families safe in these hard times. The federal government is providing COVID-19 vaccines free of charge to all people living in the United States, regardless of immigration or health insurance status. Insurance information will not be collected, and even in-home vaccinations are available. Additionally, a $25 gift card will be given out to those who receive their second dose at any Milwaukee Health Department vaccination clinic while supplies last. This incentive is eligible for those ages 18 and older. Ages 17 and below would have to have a parent or guardian present, and this is regardless of citizenship or health insurance status. For weekly walk-in clinics, there is no appointment needed. Second dose appointments get scheduled on site after receiving the first dose. And if this is your second dose or booster shot, you will need to bring in your CDC vaccination card. And lastly, masks and 6 feet distance safety regulations are still to be followed. If you need assistance, the Milwaukee Health Department COVID-19 hotline can be reached at 414-286-6800. They can help with wheelchair availability assistance, interpretation for different languages, hearing impairment accommodation assistance, and any other assistance you might need. If additional assistance is needed, please call the Milwaukee Health Department hotline at least 24 hours before your appointment. Again, the number is 414-286-6800. There are also mobile and pop-up vaccination clinics that become available at different locations. You can check these locations and hours at city.milwaukee.gov/COVID-vax. Most of these mobile clinics appear at universities or schools, and most have a general approximate operating time from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. or a 1 p.m. until 4 p.m. These are approximate times, not official times. Again, for more information on anything I've stated today, go to city.milwaukee.gov/COVID-vax. Vaccines are also administered by healthcare providers, local pharmacies, and additional city and country ran sites. To check for exact vaccine locations and/or schedule appointment, go to vaccines.gov. So, go check out the City of Milwaukee Health Department website for additional information, and check out the vaccines.gov website for location information. Thank you. This was Jinx bringing you important coronavirus updates. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Jinx. Our next segment is our civic engagement, and we will have a quick video on gerrymandering.
Most people have heard the word gerrymandering once or twice, probably during a presidential election. What exactly is gerrymandering? Essentially, it's the process of giving one political party an advantage over another political party by redrawing district lines. It's like Democrats trying to gain an advantage over Republicans, or Republicans trying to gain an advantage over Democrats. You see, each party wants to gain as many districts as possible so they can do things like control the state budget or set themselves up to win even more districts in the future. So, to understand how this process began and how it continues today, we must go back to 1812 in Massachusetts. Elbridge Gerry, the governor of Massachusetts, supported and signed a bill to allow redistricting. That is, redrawing the boundaries that separate districts. The catch? The new lines would favor Gerry's own political party, the Democratic-Republican Party, which no longer exists. You see, Gerry wanted his party to win as many state Senate seats as possible. The more members of your party who vote, the more likely you are to win an election. The new lines were drawn to include loads of areas that would help Governor Gerry in the future. They were so strange-looking that someone said the new districts looked like a salamander. The Boston Gazette added Gerry's name to the word salamander, and voila! Gerrymandering, the process of dividing up and redrawing districts to give your political party an advantage. So how exactly does someone go about protecting their own political party and actually gerrymandering a district? There are two successful practices: packing a district and cracking a district. Packing is the process of drawing district lines and packing in your opponents like cattle into as few districts as possible. If more districts equals more votes, the fewer the districts there are, the fewer votes the opposition party will get. Packing, then, decreases the opponent's voter strength and influence. Cracking is the opposite, taking one district and cracking it into several pieces. This is usually done in districts where your opponent has many supporters. Cracking spreads these supporters out among many districts, denying your opponent a lot of votes. When you have a large number of people who would generally vote for one type of party, those folks are known as a voting bloc. Cracking is a way to break that all up. So when would a party choose to pack their opponent's districts rather than crack them? Well, that really depends on what the party needs. To dilute your opponent's voters, you could pack them into one district and leave the surrounding districts filled with voters of your own party. Or, if you and your party are in power when it's time to redraw district lines, you could redraw districts and crack up a powerful district and spread your opponent's voters out across several neighboring districts. So, Governor Gerry in 1812 wanted to gain an advantage for his party and redrew district lines in his state in such a crazy way, we have a whole new word and way of thinking about how political parties can gain advantages over their opponents. Politicians think of creative ways to draw districts every few years. So, the next time an election comes around and politicians ask people to vote, be sure to look up the shape of your district and the districts that surround it. How wide does your district stretch across your state? Are all of the districts in your state relatively the same shape? How many other districts does your district touch? But always be sure to ask yourself, does my district look like a salamander?
Thank you for joining us tonight, and please listen to our final ending survey, and have a good night.
Has this live forum been informative and useful to you? What part of the forum could be improved or changed to make it better? Please take our quick survey that's located in our comments section so that we can get your feedback on how to keep this live forum going for residents. Thanks for tuning in.